What's up, guys? It's Wolfgang back here at Killer Finds, and I'm with,
Mike?
and we are going to review today the NECA Malthus Conjuring figure. Let's get to it. All right, and getting into this figure before we get started, I'm not a big Conjuring fan. I haven't watched all of the movies. What about you?
I've actually watched none of them, to be completely honest.
Well, I like transparency here, so I say that to say I'm judging this figure purely off of the figure itself. It looks amazing, and I thought it would be one I would have to have in my horror collection. What little research I did do, this seems to be kind of the big bad behind everything in terms of the whole series and the whole universe. In actual lore, he is a baron of hell, and he has so many different supernatural powers. There's a lot to get into that would be a whole separate video. So let's talk about the figure just by itself. Mike, starting off.
Actually, you want to start on the figure or the box?
Well, I always like to start with box and accessories. So let's start with the box, Mike.
So the box is very attention-catching. The front, of course, if you're a horror fan and you look at evil things and stuff like that, they always just kind of go, oh, what's that? That's a cool design. So the first thing you see is something that's going to catch your attention. And don't worry, when you turn the box around, same thing. You're going to go, oh my goodness. And you start to get a glimpse of what's going to be inside the box, at least for head sculpts and such. Let's see if there's anything else. And then, of course, you get one good picture inside as well.
And then a really good window, a really good display to see what's inside, and a small backdrop in there as well, as NECA always does. I really like NECA's packaging, except for the cardboard hook part. I really like their stuff. They always have clean packaging.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, NECA does great packaging, great artwork. They clearly have good photographers and designers working for them, except in the actual box department, because these guys right here, you're lucky if this is on the box by the time you get it a lot of times. Actually.
Yeah, it tends to tear off, which is a major aggravation for me, but just putting it down where it's a nice flat piece that you can display or even put it on the side, it's perfect. I love the look of it.
One bonus thing is it is unnecessary. It does fold, and you can just cut it right here. So if you didn't want it and you didn't want any tabs in it, then you would be able to go without any tabs in your box collection, which who needs those when you're stacking them anyway.
Now, that being said, with the box, it looks amazing, but we care more about what's inside, and that's the accessories.
Absolutely. So, goodbye, box.
Now, for accessories, he comes with a few different things that are really, really well put together. He has 3 heads, which I love. This one and the hands that are on him, get him to stand. These that are on him already is what comes on him in package. You get 2 additional heads. So you already have a grinning head, you have a scowling head, and then you have a screaming head. And they are very well done, nice and matte. The tones around the mouth, the teeth, the glossy eyes, the way the horns come out of the skin, the kind of crackling like it's a skull or like it's burnt because he's supposed to look charred. When I looked at the design of the character, they talked about him trying to look like he was charred and coming out of a dark and warm place. And I think they really nailed that with the ashy on the skin and the ripping of the face like it's dried out from the heat. A lot of really, really good things there.
Being not knowing the story or seeing the movies or anything like that, now that you mention that, I mean, it actually does look like when you have a barbecue or something, you have the charcoal, it's all burnt at the end, and you have those dark and light colors. Those are actually here in the paint job.
Yeah, so. And the crackling, even in the skin on the rest of the body, I really like. What's interesting, too, in accessories is you get 2 more sets of hands, kind of 2 gesturing hands. Very well done, and I'll probably zoom in on post-editing so you can see these a little better. Hopefully you can see them pretty well. You get 2 kind of gesturing, pointing hands, or you can put up to the head, L for loser, or you're playing football. Those are well done, and I do like, and this is, again, to the mythos of the character. So these feet are what's on him currently and what are on him in the film. However, in the mythos of the character, when he approaches, you can hear hooves. So the fact that they interchanged, and I don't know if they use them in the movies or not. I haven't seen them, obviously. But at the very least, I like the fact that they included hoof feet that are on a circular ball joint. Not a lot of range, but more than enough so that you can get that aesthetic look if you want it. And then the last thing is this little disc. He can stand on his own. It's a little trickier. I've got him to do some poses and hold, but I would have to play with him and manipulate him. Yeah, see, I'd have to play with and manipulate him to get him to do it, but you do have this that pegs into the feet.
Let me see. I actually haven't played with this at all, so let me give you a first-time response on balance, right? So I have not physically played with him, just to give you an idea. I mean, it's not too bad.
No, not bad at all.
It definitely had. You have to figure out the counterbalance. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I was really excited about on the accessories in general was just and I'm sure we'll go over this more, was actually the head sculpts.
Yeah.
The head sculpts are really, really nice. And I will say, if you're looking for a vibrant, colorful figure, this is not it.
No, not at all.
But it is appropriate colored, and regardless, they spent the time that they didn't need to spend coloring on the body, on the head sculpts, especially the eyes and the teeth. I don't know if you can see, but it has a lot of detail. A lot of times one eye is looking to the left and one's looking to the right, and all different kinds of things like that. These are spot on. They have the actual look of like aggression or seriousness that you may be looking for. And it's not just one, it's all of them. I'm just holding one just because, but and there's a sheen on the eyes, which is very rare on NECA figures. That I've not really noticed much of that.
They used to do it a lot on some of the older ones, and then as they started getting into newer figures and they were expanding, you saw them kind of slip away from that. But this one, they particularly brought that attention to detail back on. And this really speaks to the whole aesthetic, which is what we usually move into after accessories. So this is a perfect time to go into that. The aesthetic of this figure, the shading is so well done. The paint is amazing. I think the paint is where this really shines, because it would have been really easy to muddy the paint job up or to not get the details in there. And because that, you would have lost what the sculptors have done. And I think they did a great job of accentuating the sculpt with the paint.
Yeah, it's more like almost like a powder coat, like a light brush, just kind of over the top on a lot of things, which is a very technical paint job.
Yeah,
actually,
it's big. A nice little wash can make a huge difference in depth. I mean, I like that you've got the spines coming out and there's the gold tips like the horn, but there's still that powdered brush like you're talking about around them that makes it feel like it's sinking into that actual skin texture. And then you get all the rippling in the skin and the bones, but that little bit of extra brush over top creates that depth. So you can see like it's almost like you're going into the rib cage or into these wrinkles. I love it. So now the big thing we're going to move into is articulation, and that'll be super simple. They did some smart stuff. This lower half of the body is actually a rubber, very tough rubber covering, almost, in McFarlane and others, they'll call it like a diaper. But they did it all the way up the mid-torso. So they've got a lot of articulation going on in here, and they changed a little bit of the joint in that leg. So going first, we got a double ball joint head, no hinge. So
it's good range for those creepy shots over the shoulder, kind of looking back.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
You got some gapping in there, but that's going to happen with the way the neck is shaped when you don't give it neck articulation. But
it's all about angles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You've got your shoulder upwards, and then it can go all the way around. Now, what's different, I think, in this one, I don't remember, maybe Crooked Man had this, but most of their horror ones don't have a bicep swivel. He does, which I like. Double jointed elbow, and you can still turn at the elbow, goes better than 90. So you can hold the bicep still, and you can still turn the elbow joint, no problem. You've got your regular pin and hinge wrists. You've got your torso, which is got a decent range back, but not a lot. Pretty good range forward. Some side crunch, and you can turn it to about that far, and then you're going to start pushing the plastic. So you got to be careful of that. Like Mike was showing you, full splits.
full splits.
which
I'm
is
not
great.
really sure why. Do you happen to know why?
I think with a lot of these figures, the way they've been doing them, because normally NECA, see, this is a ball joint system. NECA used to do a tube system where they sat in together, they interlocked together, but also it would create a kicking problem where one would kick up and the other would follow suit, and it didn't give you a lot of range. So it made sense to go to this ball joint style system. But when you do that, mixed with the diaper aspect of it, it gives it automatically more range. So I don't necessarily think it was intentional in that they looked at him and said he needed more range, so much as they went with a system that was going to automatically give it more range. That's my thought process on what happened here. I'm not mad at it either way. It really gives it a lot. And
I'm not mad at it. I am very curious. So, if you know why he would need to flex that way, please let us know. And it's not, and maybe it's just, they're trying that and they're starting to use that more normally, and maybe that's the future of
could be
the figures. But
could be.
I'm also curious: is it a design for the character himself? I just don't know.
Well, and I also do, as I think about it, I also do think maybe because this is the difference in the Howling Werewolf, the way his leg joints are set and how weak they can be in areas, and how top heavy he is. It's harder for him to hit those kind of poses. This is a goat-like character who has goat-like legs, so maybe because you're trying to kick the hips out and move it around to get him in those kind of poses, it could be that joint just leans better into getting those, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think is happening here, and why they would do that. Well, I could be wrong. Let us know in the comments, right? So going back into it, you've got your knees, which the same as always. You have your ankles, which are the same as well. And this is the point in which you can pull the joint out. Just got to be, they're strong, so you don't have to be too careful, but pop it out, and you can put your goat hoof in. Now, I'm going to keep this in just for the sake of finish this off, because this has one part of articulation that the goat hoof doesn't have, and that is the toe articulation. So much like I believe the Gargoyles had this, the American Werewolf of London figure has it, I think even the Howling one has it. So you've got a hinge and a pin in there, so you can rotate that, hinge it up and down on both toe joints, right? So that gives you a little bit more, I think, flexibility and lean on that. What do you think, Mike?
Well, so one thing that I was looking at, we've kind of not completely bashed, but I would say we did have insulted it a little bit the way that it does stand, and it's standing. But when you look at this, I mean, to be able to balance this on these, and you're looking at how, like, the small details that they try to add for the articulation to allow it to happen. This is a counterweight to this.
Yeah.
So they did, and they used it. Now, is it for articulation? Actually, the knees go pretty well.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how well they went. So, I mean, that's pretty cool, actually. So, but, I mean, even with all this is I don't know if it looks like a lot, but this is a lot of extra stuff on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, having added that and being able to add the flex in the toes, to add the balance, the bend in the knees. I mean, they definitely did try. See, even that. So that's what I wanted to. So I can bend this, bring this down. It was still able to stand. It's not absolutely perfect, but there are ways to make it happen, and that's kind of what I wanted to show, because this is a lot of times when you see figures that have a lot of extra things on the back side or the front side, I mean, they really topple over.
Yeah.
So just seeing this, even if it doesn't look like a lot, it really is, and I think they did well with it overall.
Yeah. I'm really pleased.
I am pleased.
You know what's funny, actually, is when you look at the amount of detail for the price, and he is, comparatively to most NECA figures, a little more expensive. He's $50 here on BBTS and other places. He's $60 and up, whereas most NECA releases right now are still in the $30 to $35 range. So I'm not entirely certain.
A lot of them, I think they've been hit 40,
have they been
mostly
going?
on average.
Okay.
We'd like to mark ours at 35.
Yeah, and that makes sense. What I'm getting at is he's a little more expensive still, for his price point as compared to other figures that they release. And that could be a licensing thing. It could be an exclusivity thing. I'm not certain, but I'm saying that because for the level of articulation, for the level of sculpt, for the level of detail they put in, I comparatively look at it similar to a Savage Crucible or a Mystic Legions, which are so well done, and those are like $80 to $100 figures.
Yeah.
So I am not mad. When I'm saying those price points, I'm not bringing it up because I'm mad at the price point. I'm saying comparatively, I agree with it, and I'm happy with the price point I paid for it. There's some figures in some of the lines, and in any line, that you're not going to pay the money they're asking for because it's not worth it. This one is. And that's really where I'm kind of at with that. So, let's move on to scaling?
Yeah, let's check out scaling.
Okay. So all right, starting out with our scaling here, we've got the Mezco 112 scale Freddy Krueger and the Figure Obscura or Four Horsemen Mythic Legion style Red Death figure. And I actually really like this scale. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how big he's supposed to be compared to people in the movies. So
I think he's like between 7 and 8 foot, something like that. I think.
Okay.
So I mean, this is a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. This is probably a little more accurate right here in a size comparison.
Yeah, and they make the thing is with like Mythic Legions and Savage Crucible, Super 7, even so McFarlane stuff. This is going to scale in. NECA is actually prior to most of those lines was kind of the king of that scale. They instead of doing a 6-inch scale, did a 7 to 8-inch scale, and it worked for them. And so I think, just giving you an idea of what a 6-inch looks like next week, but he's also a demon, so you could play around with changing size. But if you want a true 1-to-1 scale outside of NECA, I think this is good.
Oh yeah.
Now we're going to move into the other two I've got because I have a McFarlane and another NECA to show next to him. All right, and next we've got the NECA This Island Earth Mutant, which is one of my favorite figures from NECA. And then we have the McFarlane Deluxe Spawn, and I think both of these scale great.
I think so as well. One of the things that I want to point out was
He's dead. He died.
Hold his head.
Glory!
I killed them all.
They're all dead, but you were
They're
saying.
all napping on the job.
Yeah, they're sleeping.
But look at this. You have 7-inch. You mind if I see that Mezco again?
Yep.
Mezco does a great job detailing their figures. But the thing that they just can't do on the size is make it so that you can really see the detail. And not just in general, right? Like clearly in pictures, you can get the good detail out of Mezcos. And we see a lot of amazing things from Mezco. And don't get me wrong, I actually love Mezcos quite a bit. But with NECA and McFarlane, you do get the opportunity to add a little bit more larger detail, which does give it a little bit more realism at times, I would say. So that is a large benefit of the little bit larger scale figures on those. But again, I wouldn't just totally discount. Don't take Mezco for granted at all.
No, I would say, and this is kind of the difference, maybe too, in some of the detail mentality. Now, Mezco themselves tend to almost always be a little more stylized, anyways. But in terms of like their style of what they think something should look like, but even when they're on. NECA does, I think, even what McFarlane is trying to do and still can't quite do, and that's bring a statue to life with articulation. Yes. McFarlane does that decently enough in certain ways. I crap on McFarlane a lot, but they do some good stuff. But I think the king of taking a statue and giving it articulation at its scale and price point is NECA.
NECA is probably one of the best figures for price point, style, and articulation as a whole. No matter which one you're going to buy.
Agreed.
NECA is like, that exact perfect median, and every now and then they jump up above a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. So that being said, looking across the board at scaling, looking across the board at articulation and accessories, everything, we're coming to an end Final thoughts on this figure. I personally think it's a win. I think it is probably one of NECA's best releases of the year so far for me. What do you think, Mike?
I think that is a win also.
Well, you know what? We're going to leave it on that note right there.
That's great balance, by the way.
That is fantastic. I'm not going to lie.
I didn't actually think it was going to stay, so I was pretty excited about that.
There you go. See, balance and holding other figures. And it's not exactly a light figure it's holding on to.
No.
So we're going to suggest it. Mike, tell me, where can you find this figure again if you're in the Hiram or Atlanta area?
Let me think. Oh, check out a cool little store called Killer Find. It's actually right here in this building. We have tons of cool and killer stuff for you to check out. Lots of figures. We actually are very well aware that NECA is a good figure for the value. We have a huge selection.
They have a fantastic selection of NECA figures. Check them out. They've got all sorts of other brands too. Every brand that you saw here, they carry, as well as way more stuff than that. But guys, that being said, we're going to bring this review to an end. It is not the only one. It's a series of 3 we've got going on. So we're going to be reviewing some more figures and putting them up on the website as we go. So thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoy and you have a killer day. Wolfgang
and Michael.
We're out, guys. Later.